Hello, everybody. I do hope you are well. And, you know, you are on your path to finding gnosis. By gnosis, I mean knowledge that will help you, us all, find out what is going on in this strange existence that we are all apparently sharing together and what the hell we should be doing here. Um, I thought I'd come on and talk about something that I was thinking about the other day, and that's neuroticism. We live in a world where we talk about sanity and neuroticism as if they are opposites, as if one is good, one is bad, one is healthy, one is broken, one is to be embraced, one is to be completely avoided. Sanity is seen as the savior. Neuroticism is seen as that to be avoided. It's as if sanity is something clean, settled, wholesome, the bringer of good. Neuroticism is something to be corrected, ironed out, medicated away, removed from the person. But I want to question that framing. Because when you look closely, what we call sanity is, in my view, really often just comfort. It's stability. It's not being rocked, not being attacked, not having your assumptions challenged too deeply. It's not being emotionally disrupted. It's being in the comfort zone. Sanity, as we commonly understand it, is the feeling that you're basically right. You can be confident about your assessment in relation to what is going on. And the world more or less confirms that to you. There's nothing wrong with you. You feel perfectly fine. Your mind is working according to the principles we as a society have set out as being good. Sanity then is a state where nothing presses too hard on your conscience. Nothing really forces you to look too long at suffering, at unfairness, contradictions, or hypocrisy, especially your own. And this kind of sanity is very seductive. It's why, there are so many self help gurus. There's so many people making a killing around the world selling you all manner of methodologies and weekends away retreats, etc., promising you sanity. It's warm and it's socially rewarded. People want to hang out with sane people. People want to talk to sane people. Sanity is a lubrication for you socially. It lets you get on with things. It lets you dance in the big disco of society without any eyes looking at you thinking, what a weirdo. But I want to suggest something uncomfortable. That the people we call neurotic, the anxious, the unsettled, the emotionally conflicted ones, are, paradoxically, perhaps, despite their perturbed nature, closer to the truth than the ones we like to call sane. Because what if, neuroticism isn't the failure of perception? What if it is rather an outcome or a consequence of perception? A lot of neurotic people, in my view, are actually people who are just not drowning in that which other people utilize daily to get through reality, to live in this crazy world. And that is cognitive dissonance. Neurotic people, I believe, for the most part, are primarily neurotic because they're aware of their cognitive dissonance. They feel it. They notice the cracks between what they believe and how they live, between what they say matters and what they actually tolerate. And they are disturbed, not just because they are confused, but because they are paying attention to what other people are not. They swivel internally on their emotional axis because they can see more than one thing at once. They can see other possibilities. They can see where they're coming from, and they can see where others are coming from too. That's empathy. And empathy is destabilizing. It widens the lens through which we look at matters. It ruins the simple stories of simple people. It makes life harder, not easier. It builds a moral landscape. A moral landscape on foundations that are problematic, to say the least. And so people become unsettled, discombobulated, upset. And from the outside, yes, this looks like weakness. Maybe they're walking funny. Maybe they're being shy and awkward. Maybe they're stuttering. Maybe they sometimes have trouble looking you in the eye. Maybe they're hesitating. Maybe they're teary-eyed. Maybe they're unable to even go outside. But we should be very careful before dismissing these so-called neurotic people, because there is often wisdom brewing in that unrest. They see things you don't see from your narrow line of vision. If you are somebody who labels themselves as sane, or perhaps more importantly, who society labels as sane. And the fact that they're disturbed by what they see may say more about the world than it does about them. Because if they've seen more or thought about more than you, and they are disturbed, Shouldn't that worry about you? Men have come back from experiences that the women in the village, the children, or, you know, other people in the village didn't have. Men have come back from wars, shook to their core, with nervous shock, unable to speak about the horrors that they witnessed, the things that they've seen. They learnt about the extremities of the horrible side of human nature, and they couldn't convey it to the others in meaningful language that was beneficial to the herd. And so they sat around in nervous shock, unable to even converse. Because other people see existence from a narrower line of experience, a narrower line of vision, sometimes. And this is obviously, this has been talked about a lot, especially with things like Plato's cave. The people in the cave are watching shadows on the wall. The shadows are consistent. They don't argue with each other. There's a shared reality, a shared comfort amongst those watching. There's a consensus as to what's going on. They feel comfortable conversing with each other. They feel informationally proficient, experts. They may stand up talking for hours on end, proudly about what is going on with these shadows on the wall. That's sanity. Socially speaking, that's sanity. Deep in the dank, dark cave, in this subterranean cavern, looking at a wall, casting meaning onto the shadows that are dancing with the flames of the fire. Flames that don't eliminate the masses in terms of knowledge. And though illuminating the cave don't add any value to them in terms of knowledge, though warming them physically don't add warmth to their hearts, cause them to cast aside anybody who disagrees with the narrative that culturally they have come to indoctrinate each other with from birth. The people in the cave are watching the shadows on the wall of the cave, and they don't argue with each other. They accept what is happening. They're sane. And that's sanity. And then one person somehow leaves the cave for whatever reason. Maybe they're driven out because they're different. Maybe one day they just see a beam of light coming in from a sun's ray and they follow it. And they go outside. And the light hurts them. Their eyes are not used to it. They see things that they've never seen. They have no words to describe what they're seeing. Because how can you have words for that which you've never seen before, which you've never heard even described before? The old explanations of your culture stop working. And with this ascent the world becomes bigger, more complex, less controllable. You don't feel calm. You cannot feel calm in such circumstances. That would be insanity. You feel disorientated. The ascent is hard, painful. But here's the key. The one that leaves the cave doesn't forget the lingering stories of the shadows that they were a witness of in their youth, in their formative years. They don't lose knowledge of their culture, of the culture they were indoctrinated into. They don't lose knowledge of the dogma. They don't lose knowledge of the wall. What they do is they compare and contrast new knowledge that they receive, and they add knowledge to the insights and stories they were told before. And so now they know the subterranean world and the world above ground. They see both sides of the land. They see the fire. They see the shadows. They see the trees, the fields, the animals running around. And they can even look up and see the sun, the sky, the stars. They, in essence, have double vision. They see what was and what is. They see what they have been taught and what they are learning and what they are seeing. And double vision is unsettling. It's uncomfortable. You see, why the shadows make sense from inside the cave and why they are incomplete from outside of it. You see that. You no longer fully belong to either place. That's the tension here, that inner swiveling. And that's what we call neuroticism. Somebody is acting strange, doesn't quite know what to say. You know, they want to belong to the people in the cave, but they don't belong. They have emotional bonds to these people. But they see another way. They see error in how they thought, how they behaved. They see perhaps unfairness, where others don't complain because they are sane after all. And they haven't seen what the explorer, what the pioneer has seen and experienced. And when this person returns to the cave, they're going to be mocked, bullied, laughed at, belittled. That's human nature. They'll be put down because, of course, humans are a competitive species of murderous monkey striving for social acceptance and validation and power in a hierarchy of being, for resources and mates and security. So, yes, they are often clumsy, stumble. They seem less competent, perhaps. Because how can they fit into a system which is fundamentally broken? In their heart, in their mind, they're trying to look for somewhere to sit, to stand, to be of use. But the system is incorrect. It's broken. It's not in any way relational to what they know, to what they see as good, or to what they feel is the correct path. And because they won't row with the others in this regard, they are viewed as a problem. They are, as I said, not viewed as competent. And their mutterings, their insight is interpreted as a dysfunction, as insanity, as something to be mocked, laughed at, belittled. And they are perhaps even hoisted up as an example of madness, of something to ridicule, humiliate, a warning to others. Don't you dare think for yourself. Don't you dare go out there and try to change what is. Don't you dare ever try to tell the people that taught you from your youth that they were wrong in what they said. Don't you dare. That's insanity. You don't want to be labeled as mad now, do you? And this happens again and again over again and again in history. You know, they might even be carted off to an insane asylum if their thinking is too different. But here's the part we don't talk about enough. It is these people, these neurotic individuals, the disturbed ones, the dissatisfied ones, the ones who couldn't rest comfortably in the shadows, who have actually changed the world for the better. It wasn't the contented. It was never the well-adjusted. It wasn't the people who said, this is just how things are. It was always the neurotics, the prophets, the reformers, the heretics, the moral troublemakers, the people who couldn't stomach the status quo, the ones who felt something was wrong and refused to sedate that feeling. They lifted others out of sin. Not sin as in rule breaking, because the rules themselves were sinful. The rules were made by people who didn't see the error in their ways. The sin that the neurotic heroes lifted others out of was willful blindness, this comfortable complicity, a choosing not to know, lying, languishing in the comfort zone. And that brings us to an uncomfortable reversal of matters. And this can be expected in this world where all is not as it seems. What if the people who cling most fiercely to their contrived sanity, their carefully constructed stability of mind, what if they are not always the virtuous ones at all? What if those who run away from feelings of not being at ease are not sitting in those feelings? What if they are detestable cowards? What if they are the great pretenders, the ones who sense deep down that something is terribly wrong, but choose comfort over confrontation, who run away from any feelings of discontent, any feelings that may bring them to a state of neuroticism. Those who stay inside the cave, not just because they must, but because it's easier, because they fear social reprisal, and because perhaps they just enjoy being in the comfort zone. Ladies and gentlemen, the truth is terrifying. The truth is, in your lifetime, there is a duty on you, a moral imperative to be disturbed. There is a moral imperative to have your feathers ruffled, to become emotionally disheveled, to crack up, to allow the false coherence of your worldview to collapse under the weight of reality. Because the status quo you're protecting, the one that keeps you calm and functional, is also the one that permits immense suffering all around you. And if you think it won't come for you eventually, you are mistaken. The cave always collapses in the end. So maybe the problem isn't that people are too neurotic. Maybe it's that there aren't enough people being neurotic. Yes, Nietzsche warned us, when you gaze into the abyss gazes back. And the Bible says something equally stark. As knowledge increases, so doth sorrow. And that's just not some whimsical literature. That's not a threat. It is a description of a life lived well. Awareness. If that's something you value, being aware, you're a conscious being, for crying out loud. Why wouldn't you want to be as aware as maximally possible? This may be your only chance. But awareness costs something. You lose innocence. You lose simple nature. You will lose your simplicity. You will no longer be a simple creature. You'll lose the luxury of not caring. There'll be no more evenings of utter content. No, never again will you have 24 hours where you will feel utterly content. It's not possible. Not now, in this world, when you see what is happening around you. You will start to see your own life differently. You'll wake up to the fact that dominoes fell before you were born, and forces shaped your nature, the being that you became, the ways you didn't choose. This clarity, it arrived through experience and pain. and time. At some point, the curtain closes on ignorance and it doesn't reopen. There's no going back once you know. There is more. You can never go back to the way you were before. And you may become more detached from others. You may become more unlike what was before. You may become difficult to classify. And yes, you may become lonelier either for the rest of your life or for a period. But that's the price of seeing. And as I said, once you see, you cannot unsee. And if there's something that comes after neuroticism, I'm not going to lie to you. It's not comfort. It's not peace. Peace in the shallow sense of sitting around feeling at ease with oneself, with existence. It is a kind of brutal, hard clarity. A refusal to lie to yourself. And a willingness, unlike others who practice cognitive dissonance unknowingly. It's a willingness to carry contradiction without numbing it. You will walk around with all that is in this cacophony of everything. And from that place, only from that place, can something real, beneficial emerge that can change the course of humanity, of life in this cosmos. Not borrowed meaning, not inherited beliefs, something scraped from the cave in that subterranean state of ignorance that you once were cultishly indoctrinated within. But gnosis, lived knowledge, earned understanding. So don't rush back to the shadows. They're not there anymore for you. Don't mistake calm for virtue. If something in you is restless, for fuck's sake, listen to it. Wake up. Get mad. Start thinking. Expand your horizons. Think deeper. Find something, anything that lifts others up rather than soothing yourself in a state of comfort. Because the world doesn't need more well-adjusted prisoners or prison wardens. It needs more people willing to step into the light, even if it hurts. So, when you are feeling discontent, when you are feeling anxious, neurotic, all is not lost. All is not lost. Fear not. Here's the key. It is the key to unlock future wisdom garnered from deep thought, meditation, and inspired by such times of emotional tribulation. you will become the best version of yourself. You won't be enslaved to what was. You will rise above the ignorance that previously shackled you. You will rise up and you will do something meaningful. Thank you. Thank you for listening. I do hope you are exceedingly well.